Do we have a motion to open tonight's meeting?
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good evening, everyone. This is a meeting of the Finance Committee. It is January 26, 2022. This meeting is being video recorded, and we're also doing Zoom tonight as well for the members who could not be here in person. Before we start, I'd like to stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Over there.
This one here.
Either way.
All right, well, this one.
All right.
Take two.
Pledge allegiance
Pledge
to the
allegiance to
flag
the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so tonight is our first budget hearing for this season. I hated to drag everybody out on this frigid night, but here we are. We're going to try and go in order tonight with the hearings. So first on the agenda is going to be Ms. Rebecca Tomlinson, our Animal Control Officer, so she can present on her budget.
Good evening. How is everyone?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
My budget is pretty simple. I thought I was going to have to request a couple of items, line items, but everything worked out fine, so I'm just presenting the level funded.
That makes it really easy.
Sure does.
And
Off to a good start.
a couple of the line items on here, they may change, but I can't do anything yet, especially my deceased animal removal, because I received a larger freezer, so I may be having less pickups. But again, I don't want to say anything right now because that will probably not work out, so
Okay.
I would rather just wait. But everything else, as far as I can see, seems like it's in line for what I need.
Okay, sounds great. Does anybody have any questions for Rebecca while she's here?
Good job.
Well,
There's
I
me.
don't anticipate any any issues or questions from us, but if we have any, we'll be in touch
Yep.
if anything comes up.
As you know, just to let you know, I'm sure you probably know, you're aware that my truck was approved. I finally received my
good.
brand new
Finally got a
truck,
truck,
Oh,
which
good.
is
It's really
awesome.
Boy, that took a long time.
It did because they were having problems with the chips, and so we finally got it. I want to say sometime in November it came in,
Okay,
and then we
good.
had to keep sending it back to have some work done on it, and we're still having some ongoing work done to it, so we still have money in that budget, so that will work out fine. But it is awesome. It's so much better than the van. I should have had this
Glad
truck.
it's working out for you.
Here-
Yeah, I've seen it personally. She gave me a tour.
You're not getting stuck anywhere.
No, not at all. That snowstorm that we had a few weeks ago, I was out in it and it handled very well. And the van just wasn't doable. They do
Right.
have some vans that do handle well, but my van just didn't. And even the DPW superintendent said the same thing. So it was more of a hazard than anything else if I would have gotten stuck somewhere. So works out well. It has all new, LEDs. Everything is state of the art in it. So I'm really
You'll be able
happy
to work
with
out
it.
the Saturday.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it's going to get put to the test this weekend.
Oh, it is, absolutely. Well, I don't know. If it's going to be 3 feet of snow, I don't
Yeah,
want to,
maybe not.
test it that much and then,
Right.
get stuck somewhere, so. But no, I'm very happy with it. So I didn't know if you were aware that it had finally come in after
That's
all
great
this
news.
time, so. But very, very happy with it, and thank you so much for okaying that,
Awesome.
so.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thanks for coming out.
Okay, you're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thanks.
Good night.
Yeah, I know, we're not going to vote on anything until later. Until we get to our deliberation period.
Mhm.
Let me just, check these real quick one more thing.
Okay, next up is going to be our Council on Aging Director, Ms. Heather Chu.
She's a tough act to follow.
Not if you're level funded.
I tried. Okay, so I presented two budgets to you. If you choose to stay with level funded, I do need to increase 2 line items. When Mr. Oliver was here in the IT department, we were attempting to change my phone system over to tie it into town hall, because now I'm completely separate, so I can't transfer calls, they can't transfer calls to me, so we were trying to streamline that system. In anticipation of that, I had eliminated my phone budget. Because he's departed his position, that transition hasn't happened, I still have my separate phone system, so I need to put the $500 back to pay for that, just until we can finish the process. The other increase I had asked for under the level funded budget is, as of October, I've been back for 5 years, so longevity factors into my salary, so I had to ask for that increase. My wish list. And we talked about this year after year, guys, I need an outreach worker. So my job title is COA director and also activity coordinator, so I'm responsible for the day-to-day operations of the senior center and all the activities that happen there. But I'm also doing the social work part of it, so if you come in, and Gail, I'll pick on you just because you're my friendly face. If you come in and you say to me, I have no heat, I have nothing in my fridge, so we're gonna help you do a food stamp application. We're gonna make sure that, we get to the grocery store that day and you have something to eat that night. We're seeing such an increased need now that COVID has happened and a lot of the public assistance benefits that had been increased have stopped. People daily are coming into us on, I just need someone to help me kind of field those requests. We have a wonderful EMS department. It's not unusual for one of the EMTs to call us and say, hey, I was at a call last night, these people have no food in their fridge. So now I have to make a decision of, okay, I'm running this craft program because that's part of my job, but I know these people need food. Obviously, that's the priority. This has to go on hold so I can attend to that. So I think we just need to look at our staffing levels.
How many hours a week would that position be?
I'm asking for 19 and a half. I could be flexible. At this point, I would take anything. But I thought, if we did 19 and a half, no benefits come into play, so it won't cost the town on that end. We asked for $18 an hour, which I don't think is an absorbent amount. I mean, minimum wage is $14.25, so. And this person would need a certain skill set. They would know how to go look for public benefits, what those applications are. They would have to have some experience, so I think that's a realistic salary.
And what did you call that position?
It's an outreach worker?
Outreach.
Yeah.
So that's basically the only really change in your budget.
And I asked, one more ask.
Okay.
I asked for an extra $1,000 in my repair and maintenance for my vehicles. I have 3 vehicles. One is a 2010, a 2011, and we just acquired a 2014 that has 144,000 miles on it. It was a hand-me-down from CERTA. So we're maintaining them, so they're in pretty good shape, but the exhaust system fell off of one this year, so that already ate up my budget. So I asked for that increase.
I'm sorry, what
So
years
that-
are the cars? Sorry, yeah.
That's okay. I had the 2010 and the 2011.
Yep.
We just took possession of a 2014.
Okay. And how long do you think those cars are gonna last you before we need to get you a new car?
I think, I was going to apply for a grant for a new one, but Selectman DeRoche kind of put us in the direction of taking the hand-me-down from CERTA, so that got squashed. So I'm going to work with them as long as I can. And our goal is we don't need 3 vehicles. Realistically, we only need 2.
Okay.
Housing Authority needs 1, so we're going to go through, once the TA comes on board, go through that process and give them one of our vehicles.
Anybody else have any questions for Heather while she's here?
Question.
Please.
I know that we've talked about this for several years. Did we ever finalize or get certified the shelter?
Yeah, it's all set. The bathroom is, so we are no longer a warming center, we are technically a shelter. The bathroom is complete.
Okay.
So if we needed to open up Saturday, we're ready to go.
Okay, that was my.
Yeah,
where I
no,
was going.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the food pantry is fully stocked. The cots are still at the school. Those won't come over till Friday, just in case. But yeah, we're ready to go.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. You guys are making this too easy.
All right, Heather. If we have any questions for you at some point down the road, we'll get in touch with you.
Okay.
Of course, we're not going to be voting on any budgets tonight. We save that till the end when we start deliberating. But thanks for coming in tonight and presenting your budget.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, next hearing is going to be with our library department. I believe we're going to be doing that with on Zoom. So we
Yes,
have-
can you hear me?
Yes, so we have Ms. Dina
I hope so.
here.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the Zoom option for tonight's meeting. I really appreciate it. And there are 4 members of the library's Board of Trustees also signed in on Zoom tonight. And if you have any questions for any of us, please feel free to include them. Otherwise, we'll just be looking like the Brady Bunch on your screen, perhaps. But I am also going to attempt to share my screen because, as you know, I usually like to do a little presentation. So let me know if you can't see that. It says it's loading on my end. Can you see my screen with the? Okay, great. Mine will be a little bit longer than Rebecca and Heather. Surprise, surprise. But again, thank you for allowing me to join by Zoom. You have 2 budgets from the library, as well as a narrative from us. And I would like to start, of course, with the level funded budget. The level funded budget, the salary increases are to be determined, as you know. I did want to note that we have decreases in lines 511300, which is the library technicians line, as well as 519000, our longevity line, and those decreases are due to staff turnover. This past year, we've lost 3 outstanding part-time staff members to full-time positions at neighboring libraries, hence the decrease in the 2 lines. As you can imagine, that's been pretty difficult for us, especially because they're literally at neighboring libraries. And I don't think they would have left if full-time were an option for them in Acushnet. That's why we're seeing the decrease, because obviously the new people who have come in are starting at a lower hourly rate and they're not earning longevity yet. Moving on to the expense section, we do have some increases there. I factored in a 25% increase to our energy line. There's a 6.5% increase, which is contractual. For the tech support line, we get our tech support through the sales library network. We have 16 computers that fall under the tech support umbrella, and we haven't seen an increase really in this line for quite some time. And it's 6.5%, yes, but it's only $111 in total for the year, which I think is manageable. And then there are 3 lines that were either reduced or cut in FY21. And in the budget memo we received from the town accountant, we were encouraged to bring back things like an education line or lines that might support trainings for staff. So the education line had been reduced for FY21, so we're looking to restore that to $500 in total. We also had cut the travel line completely, and we're looking to bring that back to $1,000 for FY23. And then the office supplies line doesn't really fall under educational expenses, but we did cut that in half for FY21, and we'd like to get that back up to its full amount, or its pre-COVID amount of $2,000. And so that is what I have for you with level funded. I do just want to note at this point that our FY23 level funded budget, as you're seeing it tonight, does not meet our municipal appropriation requirement. We've talked about the municipal appropriation requirement in the past under Chapter 78, Section 19A, Mass General Laws. A municipality must appropriate a certain figure in order to be certified for state aid to public libraries, in order for its library to be certified for state aid to public libraries. And certification and state aid are critical for a small library like ours. And the current level funded budget doesn't meet that. I've been in Acushnet now for nearly 7 years, and this is the first time I'm presenting a budget that does not meet the MAR. This is the calculation. The formula is provided by the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. I've got FY20, 21, and 22 as our years to use. And that brings us, once you follow the formula, to a MAR of $286,448. and our level funded request is only $284,779. Of course, I understand fully that the final total will change once salary lines are adjusted, and hopefully at that point we will be meeting the MAR, but I think it's really important to note that as it stands now, we don't meet it. And so that brings us to the level funded with additions portion of our budget presentation. That budget would be just over $300,000 at 304,336. And so we would certainly meet the municipal appropriation requirement with the level funded with additions budget. And in that budget, you will see that there is an increase to the library technicians line. And what we are requesting is a full-time position for our children's room position. That's the Library Tech 3 position. As I wrote in the narrative, and as some of you will remember, that position was created in FY 2019. It came out of necessity because when we moved locations, it was clear very early on that we needed someone to support children's programming, a staff member to do that, aside from myself. And at the time when I presented to you for FY 2019, Mr. McGlynn asked me at that meeting, is 19 hours going to be enough? And I was so happy that the idea of this position was being entertained that if you had asked me if 10 hours was enough, I would have said yes. And I sincerely answered yes, 19 hours was enough. But we learned pretty quickly, I would say within the first 6 months, that the 19 hours just wasn't enough because the demands from the community just kept coming for more programming and more services for children and families. And we were rewarded really well with that position, by the way, because our circulation increased in 2019 by just under 40%. And for the first time ever in our history, we circulated over 100,000 items that year. And we also saw a 35% increase in program attendance for children from birth through the 8th grade. So 2019 was a golden year for us. And like I said, we learned that a full-time position would allow for a lot more that is written in the job description, but 19 hours just really isn't a whole lot of time when you're open to the public 45 hours, which we are. We did start a conversation in early 2020 with town administration about bumping the position to full-time, and then of course COVID happened, and then obviously we've scaled back our services since COVID, but we're at a point now where we're ready to go full steam ahead with programs and services. We've been open to the public since June of 2021 after being closed for over a year. So we've been open since then. We've been busy. Everything that had dropped is now rising and increasing, which is great. And we're really hoping that this year, especially with the beautiful pavilion that's being built on our back lawn, which you may have seen, we really want to get into a full-on programming schedule for spring and summer of 2022. And having that full-time position would certainly allow us to do that while taking things off my plate so that I can focus on other pieces of being a director. So that's one part of our additional budget. And the second part falls under expenses. And that's in the other supplies line. And we're looking for a $3,000 increase in that line. That's the line that we use to purchase material for direct patron use. So our books, DVDs, magazine subscriptions, newspaper subscriptions, those items are charged to that line. And then another requirement of the state, separate from the municipal appropriation requirement, is that we spend 16% of our total appropriated budget on material for direct patron use. And $23,500, which is what we have this year, is only about half of what our 16% requirement is. So we need to go to other sources, such as our state aid account, our revolving fund. We do have a gift account. Our friends of the library help us with this as well, but we have to go to other sources to make up the difference. And increasing that line by $3,000 would give us some more flexibility and allow us to use those other monies for things such as programming, which we don't have any lines in our appropriated budget for program expenses. So our level funded budget and our additional funding budget, between the two of them, there's a difference in total of $19,557. $16,557 is for bumping the 19-hour-a-week position to a 35-hour-a-week position, and $3,000 is for the other supplies line. So those are the two budgets. And I do want to just update you on very quickly on a few things at the library. But if you have any questions about the budget specifically, we'd be happy to answer those now, or any clarifications.
I just have one question. How many children?
Sure.
How many children do you think participate in the various programs that you have for them right now?
So on average, we have about 25 children like a week who will come to story time. We do story time on Wednesdays, Wednesday mornings, and we'll say we have 25 kids come to those. The following day, in normal times, we would do a pajama story time, and we would have, separate from those 25 that we saw on Wednesday, we have 20 to 25 other children coming to a pajama story time program, which gears slightly to older kids. When we have big events where we bring in an entertainer, like a magician or a puppet show, that kind of thing, we see anywhere from 50 to 75 kids for those programs. But when we do big picture programs like our summer reading program, we have well over 200 children who participate with that. We're doing for the first time ever a winter reading program, and we started that a few weeks back. We have, I think it's 76 kids signed up for that right now, which is, we didn't know what would happen with that because our numbers are not anywhere near where they were pre-COVID, and we're not seeing the groups of people come in that came in before COVID, and part of that might be because we aren't doing indoor programming yet. But to have 76 kids sign up for that, kindergarten through about the 7th grade, we were shocked that happened. We thought we'd be, happy if like 30 or 40 came, but they're coming in every week, and it's a little incentive program for them. So individual programs, 20 to 25 people, let's say. Bigger programs with an outside entertainer, 50 to 75. Summer, for the big whole program, a few hundred. So it depends what we're doing, really. But a big piece of a children's librarian's role, let's say, is doing outreach to schools, which is something I'm doing right now because the new person in the children's room assistant position, because we lost, that was one of the staff members we lost, was our children's room assistant. The new person who's in the position is not ready to do school outreach, but I've been doing it this school year, and I've been able to meet with the whole 3rd grade over at the elementary school, the public elementary school. I've met with some of the 4th graders. I've done a little bit of work with Ford Middle School. But if we had a full-time dedicated person, that person could be doing outreach to the local schools, including the parochial school in town and local daycares, to build a bridge between the schools and the library, which is really important in a small town, because a lot of what we do is about fostering relationships, and then we'd be serving even more. So I know that's a long answer to a short question, but I would say it depends on what it is that we're doing.
And so do you envision these extra hours are going to be spent doing the outreach, or what type of other programs would you want them to focus on?
So also within the job description, that the way it's set up now currently, that the staff member isn't able to do because there isn't enough time, is collection development. So typically, in the past, I was a children's librarian for many years before I came to Acushnet, and my director didn't purchase any of the material for the children's room. That came to me. I did the collection development for that section of the library. And in Acushnet, I'm the one who does the collection development because I don't have other staff member to do that. They might assist with it, but they don't do it. So with a full-time position, this person would also be essentially be given a budget to spend, a certain amount quarterly, most likely, for adding material to the collection, and that they would be in charge of that, and that would free up a lot of my time because we actually, believe it or not, we have a very sought after children's room collection. People from the community, from Acushnet, and then from the community at large, often will comment how they go to other libraries and those other libraries don't have the collection like we have. I take a lot of pride in that collection, but I would love to pass the torch to someone else to be the one to develop it and, spend that dedicated time. So I do anticipate the person would take over the responsibility of outreach to the local schools and outreach to the community in general, and take over collection development.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions about that?
Dina, do you have any volunteers? Does anyone volunteer?
So the tricky thing with volunteers is that all of our library technicians are union staff members. So when you bring in volunteers to do a job that a union staff member could be doing, you potentially open a can of worms. Mm-hmm. So we have been discouraged by it. I think we're going on to my 5th town administrator, and I would say 3 of the 5 have discouraged the use of volunteers for certain things like shelving, sure, but not to do the kinds of things that we're looking for staff members to do.
Understood. Thank you.
Sure.
Does anybody else have any questions for Dina? Dina, that was a great presentation, explanation. We really appreciate having the 2 different budgets presented to us, with the explanation of how it would impact you, especially with regards to meeting the municipal appropriation requirement. I'm sure we're going to take that into serious consideration, and I don't anticipate it being an issue going forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, because I don't think any of you want me to also come to you and say, hey, we have to now have a representative from the finance committee to go up to Boston with me and the board of trustees to defend why we're not meeting the MAR and potentially are losing our certification. I hear that's an absolute nightmare, so I don't want to come to you.
Yeah,
I'm good, thanks. I'm the liaison, I don't know if I'll do that one.
Yeah, we don't want to have to do that either.
No.
So.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't. And I also just wanted to know, I don't anticipate any articles. I haven't submitted any articles for the library for the 7 years I've been here, and there's no articles on our horizon, knock on wood. So, what you're seeing today from us is what you get. There's nothing more that we're looking to do. And I did just want to repeat while I have you that the library is open. It's full 45 hours a week. You don't need to make an appointment to come in. However, if you are not comfortable coming in, we still are offering not that full takeout experience that we had pre-reopening, where you could come to the window. We're not doing that, but certainly we will put together, a book bundle, we call them, or a movie bundle for people, and we'll meet you outside with a bag if you don't want to come in, or if you just want to come to the counter, that's fine too. So we're still very much doing that. And I also wanted to note, we're still very much doing our take and make craft kits for kids. During that takeout window, which ran from June of 2020 through July 3rd of 2021, we handed out, it was just about 1,700 kits. And from July 1 to now, when we've been reopened, we've handed out 1,002 take and make kits. So also, if that speaks to the number of families coming in looking for things to do, it's something we now are handing out about once a month. But they're super popular, and when we don't have any on the horizon, people get a little itchy about that and want to know where their take and make craft kits are. So I just want to mention that too while I have your ears. That we're very much open for business, and we're doing everything we can to bring people back in or to help them out if they don't want to come in. And like I said too, spring and summer 2022, once the weather warms up, we're going to get out there and do as much outdoor programming as we can. There's a stage that's being set up right now at that pavilion, and that's going to really help us with our 10-week concert series that we have coming as of June 22nd. So we're really looking forward to bringing an exciting, spring and summer to Acushnet, and we hope you'll all stop by, and anyone else who might be watching, hopefully they'll stop by too. And that's all.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Dina, I have a question. How's the building?
Sure.
How is the building itself? Everything functioning good? Operating well? With regards to like heating, all that stuff?
Yes. Like with any other, it's a new to us building, but as you know, the building itself is over 100 years old now. So yes, like any older building, there are a few things that come up, but the knock on wood, the HVAC that was installed in 2014 has just had a few minor things that have been taken care of through the trustees' gift account. So we haven't had to look to the town for money for that. We've had a few issues with the septic, but those issues seem to have been taken care of with great assistance from the DPW. And as always, I know I've mentioned him before, but our building commissioner, Jim Merritt, has done wonderful things for our building, and will do anything he can to help us out when we do run into any problems. So as far as the building goes, it's been really good to us, and hopefully it continues to be really good to us.
Mr. Chair, through you.
Yep.
Dina, do you foresee any?
Yes.
How's your computer equipment doing? Is there any the age of the equipment? Is there any possibilities that you may have to upgrade?
Is that the computer equipment?
Yes.
Computer equipment, yep. So a lot of our equipment comes through the sales network,
Okay.
and most of our equipment does. And we've had to replace a few things already. We replaced our public computers back in 2019, and again, that was taken care of through our gift account. Because we do have an account that still has funds for a new library. So as things come up that need to be fixed or replaced in the building, that's what we're using. So we know that we're going to need to address our Wi-Fi in the building, and I've been talking to the interim IT person about that in town, about what to do for our Wi-Fi, and he's working on that for us. And I think that we will certainly be able to cover that again with a gift account. But other than that, our technology is pretty spot on.
Okay. Are you tied into the school, or you got your own internet service?
No, we're separate. Our internet is through the sales network. We're separate from the schools, and we're not tied in for anything. I know that Heather from the COA was mentioning the phone system. If you saw our antiquated phone system, it's like basically we have a couple of rotary phones. It feels like they're not rotary phones, but they're certainly. I would love to one day be tied into the school or the town and get on that, get the fiber going that we can connect that way. But as of right now, we are not connected in any way to any other town departments.
How do you do the internet now? Is it through Comcast or?
The internet is through Comcast, yes, and it's through sales, but yes, through Comcast.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
I just wanted to add, Dina, thank you very much. You and your staff have been doing a great job all year, as always. So
Thank you.
keep up
We
the good
try.
work.
Thank you.
All right, if nobody has any other questions for Dina, Dina, we won't be voting on any budgets right now. If we have any,
Sure.
if we have any additional questions down the line, we'll be in touch. But
Okay.
I don't anticipate too much of an issue here, so we thank you for presenting your budget tonight. Great job.
Thank you, and thank you again for allowing for the Zoom option.
Oh, always. Thank you.
Thank you. Next year in person, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Have a good night.
Good night.
Great, thank you, you as
Okay,
well, take
thanks.
care,
Right.
bye-bye.
Okay. Next, Melissa. I don't know if she's.
Hi.
Hey, Melissa.
Yep, I'm here.
Is I couldn't remember communicating with you. Is Doug coming in? Oh, he's
He's right
doing
there.
Zoom tonight.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I answered that.
Ah, here he is. Okay. All right. So the next budget is going to be our town planner, Mr. Doug Pimentel. So the floor is yours.
All right, so I think as a whole, there's not much that's changing. The big number, the only thing that's really changing from last year's budget to this year is going to be an increase of about 4,400, if I did the number correctly. Salaries are staying the same on the budget as submitted. The only thing it reflects in terms of salaries is the actual number for what my salary is currently. And then the rough estimate of what the clerk salary is for the year. Additionally, I have an increase in communications and advertising budget from $795 to $1,000. This would just reflect a few public hearings I anticipate coming up within the next year, just to address zoning changes. Additionally, some master planning changes that will be occurring as well. Another addition is from 25 to 50 under the registration deeds and updating map. So I just increased it from 25 to 50, anticipating that there is going to be a few articles and other things that need to be updated as well this upcoming year. Office supplies remain the same for what was approved for a reserve fund transfer from last year, which was the $500, so I kept that as the same. There were 4 kind of requests that I had put in the budget, and the four requests were different item lines, and it was training and testing as one of the item lines. There is travel as one of the item lines, dues, subscriptions, and memberships, and then software expenses. I'll start with the software expenses, and this kind of goes back to a reserve fund transfer that occurred in the fall or early winter of 2021. Pretty much the $1,000 I am requesting will cover the annual renewal for the Adobe Creative Cloud that myself and the clerk uses as well. I am not requesting the additional $3,000 for the ArcGIS software. Just thinking about the time and what I'm capable of doing with the time I have in a day in the office, I don't think it's possible for me to be able to do a lot of the mapping stuff currently with everything I'm trying to catch up on. The additional ones would be due subscriptions and memberships. So I guess that would be one of the bigger ones for me. Obviously, we didn't have a planner here that was full-time previously, and there's a lot of things I would like to do for myself, professional development, that I feel like I can bring to the town of Acushnet and better the town of Acushnet as a whole. So one of the big things would be a membership to the American Planning Association. And I believe at the end of the year, if I did the timeline correctly, I will be eligible to take the test to become a certified planner through the American Planning Association, which the money line for due subscription memberships will only account for the membership fee and the local chapter fee for that. Travel would be to cover the state and other local conferences, meetings that I have with that I may have, or anything that may occur with other towns or committees within the state level. Training and testing. So there is a few trainings that I've already taken and paid for. I've taken through the Citizen Planner Training Collaborative. So this is a organization that works with collaboratively with UMass Dartmouth, and they offer courses to the to planners across Massachusetts. So I've taken a few through them, and ideally what I like to do on the weeks where I don't have meetings at night for the planning board, I like to catch up on the courses, at least take one course a week, just to kind of keep up on things and see where everything's heading in the direction of the, I guess, planning world, you could say. And then other than that, I think that might have covered everything. Training and testing, yep. So.
I have a question, Doug.
Yes.
Are you able to do grant writing without having all your certifications?
To my knowledge, I am not aware of the certifications that I would need for grant writing. I have participated in grant writing in previous work experience, but to my knowledge, I am not sure.
Okay. Do you know if there's any grants out there that we may be pursuing?
Yes, we were talking about pursuing a grant for the master plan. And I've had a few conversations with some of the selectmen about what the plan is overall for that. The issue is a lot of the grants that the town would want to pursue or would be ideal for the town to pursue, the master plan needs to be updated in order for us to even think about pursuing those things. So I think the first thing would be nailing down the master plan and start getting the numbers put in place for that. Which I've sort of put in a ballpark, and speaking with the town planner over in Rochester and speaking with a few other planners that I've had an opportunity to network with. The ballpark number to do a very, very good master plan in the state of Massachusetts is between 90 and 180,000. That's starting baseline, nothing there yet. However, there are numerous grants out there that would cover the work for all of this, and I don't think we would need to go through a complete undertaking of re-overhauling our master plan per se. Just speaking with one of the selectmen, it's one of those things where I think with enough public feedback, it's something that could be done in-house. There are some parts of it that may need to be outsourced, however.
I'm sorry, maybe you already answered this and I was reading, but so the increase in clerical from 13,000 to 20 is for what?
So that's just to account for the entire year. That when the original transfer occurred, it didn't cover the entire year.
Thank you.
Yes.
Dale?
And your position is full-time, is that correct?
Yes.
And is the increase in your salary contractual or?
Yes, the increase, that's part of my contract. What was there in the money line from fiscal year 22 doesn't reflect what my contract states.
Do you envision the whole master plan thing coming into play in fiscal year 23? Because I see nothing budgeted here for it.
Mm-hmm. It's still hard for me to say. I do see it coming within the next year, but nailing down a number for that, I just couldn't put on a piece of paper and realistically feel comfortable presenting that to you.
Well, if part of it is, if I guess I get that you need to give it priority, because if Grant is going to rely on that being updated, and some of it's going to be farmed out, it seems to me you need to get it in your budget as best you can. You know, we're not looking to see some gigantic transfer. I think you need to account for it somehow. Best effort.
Yeah, just put something down. Something that's reasonable, I would expect.
Maybe it may, going forward, it may be something to to discuss maybe with the Board of Selectmen, to maybe get some insight from them, perhaps. Maybe even our building inspector as well, just to kind of collaborate and see what might be needed to get to get it going anyway.
Okay, I just know I've heard some varying opinions right currently from around town, so I think it's just getting everybody on board and identifying that first step.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
Doug, quick question for you. The
Yeah.
certifications that you're seeking,
yes,
is that a requirement? Is that in your contract that you obtain these certifications?
it is not in my contract to obtain these certifications, no.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, through
Yeah.
you. In terms of the, your Adobe Creative Suite, is your equipment up to date and current as far as?
Yes, everything I have for Adobe is current, up to date, auto updates on my computer. So I don't anticipate the renewal for that until next November or December.
Okay, but is the equipment age itself, is it okay? Is it current, how old is it, I guess?
Yes, what
So you don't
I
project
have
any
is
need to
is
replace
good.
it? Okay. Thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions for Doug while we have him? All right, Doug, thanks for presenting your budget tonight. We're not gonna vote on any budgets right now, so we may have some questions for you down the line, before we do our deliberations, so at some point we may need to call you back in.
Okay,
But I know this is, brand new for you, you're getting your feet wet, and, we appreciate the effort and the fact that you're being proactive and trying to get all your certifications. I think that's a good thing for the town. So we'll be in touch, and thank you for presenting your budget tonight.
all right, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank
coming.
you.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
You too.
Okay, next we will address the reserve fund transfer, or the request for the transfer from the reserve fund from the EMA department. There's an amount of $11,003.75 being requested. The present balance in that account is $820, and this is being requested for a tower installation. And I think you had mentioned, what type of tower was it?
So it's a communications tower.
Communications tower.
To upgrade the existing one that we have. Currently, the tower that we have is, the actual antennas and stuff like that are falling up. They're starting to age. And the tower that we did get is a steel structure, and it's actually something that was donated to us. So we've already poured the concrete slab for it, and it's got the posts and the mounting posts, so in the spring it's going to get put up.
So we're doing the installation in-house?
Yes, everything is in-house. DPW. The DPW came down and poured the concrete pad for it and did the whole installation.
Okay, so it's all ready to,
Yeah.
basically ready to go.
Right. I believe this amount, I really can't speak on behalf of Jerry, but I believe this is covering all the actual antenna equipment, the cabling, somebody to actually come in and raise the tower and put it up.
Is this communications, is this statewide, or is this just the
It's
town?
for our ham radios, our emergency communications with MEMA. The town will use it for our local
Are
radio.
we
that
setting
we
up
use.
repeaters on it?
We have a repeater, I believe, at the school that we use in conjunction with DPW.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much what it is now. So it's the existing, it's basically all the existing equipment, it's just it's getting upgraded and replaced, and brought up to current. So the stuff's already been ordered, it's been placed and all that, so.
Melissa, you had said that initially there was like $2,000 that was carved out for this based on a verbal quote. Is that money still available?
So again, this was with the prior town administrator. From my discussion is she had mentioned that the EMA director had asked for if you could use a couple of $1,000s to put this up. And she had, she knew it was needed, so she said with a couple of $1,000s, yeah, we'll find that in our general, in the money we have, it's not an issue. So he had to go ahead to do it, but from when the invoice came in, it was more than a couple
Understood,
of
but is the
$1,000.
initial $2,000 still available to be applied to this
Well,
balance? Is the
I
question.
don't know where, it was the prior town administrator, so I don't know where her intentions were to take that out. I wasn't involved in that
All right,
conversation.
okay.
So unfortunately, that was beyond, I wasn't in that.
Mel, question for you?
Yeah.
If this $11,000 is approved, what does that leave us in reserve? Do you know?
What is that? I'm sorry, what was that,
What does
what?
that leave us in reserve? Do you
I
know?
don't think we've done much this year.
No, we
This is the first
haven't.
transfer.
I can pull Munis up and let you know that. That's not difficult. I just don't have Munis up, but I will definitely let you know.
Yeah, we haven't.
And Gail's right, we
This is our
have
first
not
one.
touched it much at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's all right.
We have what do we have in there, 150? I forgot what we,
It starts out with 150,
150.
yeah.
We upped it a few years ago. Okay. I mean, it's been done, it's been
Yeah.
ordered, we have the materials. There's not much we can do, so I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Abstain.
I'm against,
Okay, we have
I'm not in
one,
favor,
okay.
not without a lot more explanation of how this occurred. I'm kicked off.
Okay, so who's in favor? How many?
I am.
3, 1 abstention, I'm in favor, so 4. 4, 1, 1.
I don't disagree, Gail. I think we gotta figure out what the heck happened here because there's too much unknown,
Wow.
but yeah.
And I
And-
mean,
and
is
ver-
this
and
really
written,
the
no
end of
verbals.
it?
No-
Is this really the end of it too? That's the other issue.
Yeah,
To my knowledge, it is.
Well,
yeah.
Being a
So
member.
whatever we need to do, Mel, on a going forward basis to make sure there's a procedure in place that all sort of estimates are in writing that we can refer back to, that would be awesome.
I definitely agree with that, and I will make that note when I sit with Mr. Kelly next week. I completely agree with that, Sue. I like transparency to make sure that everything is out and clear.
Perfect.
Okay, so the motion passes with opposition. So I actually, Mel, I have a question, I don't know if you can answer this.
Yeah.
Without this tower installation, like what would happen? Like how would it affect the town in our cable?
That communication tower, that has to do with the communications and the emergency. That would be more of a Jerry or obviously maybe an Eric thing. I'm not involved in that communication part at all.
So the antenna equipment that's there is pretty old from my understanding. I know some of the cables we've had to kind of just patch along.
Is that
and
at the
it's-
police station?
No, it's over here on Thomas Ave. If you're looking back at the EMA building, there's a huge telephone pole.
All right.
And we have all our antenna equipment, our ham radio and stuff like that for emergency communications. So in the event of a disaster, we're able to get out and communicate with the rest of the world.
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
anticipated, that this gives us the ability, or make sure we have the ability to communicate with other neighboring towns, I would imagine.
Correct, yes.
If there's any kind of crisis, kind of
Yep.
situation going on.
So if you hear all the time on the news, you hear ham radio nets and that sort of thing. We're actually a member of that. Our deputy director frequently does radio checks with local ham nets and stuff like that to make sure our communications are working. That's usually done on a monthly basis. So, but the equipment that's there it's starting to show its age. We've actually seen, I think I've seen the antenna, one of the antennas was actually bent from a storm, so.
Okay.
Just to let you know, there's 134 left in reserve.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's after this?
No, as of right now, so minus whatever that is for the 11K.
Okay.
So, yeah, 122-ish or so.
And if, I know we'll probably have some reserve fund trends coming in for next meeting also, just for a heads up, another 10 maybe.
Okay, any idea on like the dollar amount on that, like the sum
Yeah, I
total?
think it's gonna be, I think it's 10, I know it's for police, but I don't know the detail yet because it hasn't been, I just know that they're going to ask, but I don't know the details yet. Well, I'll find out when they create the reserve.
Okay.
I'll give you a heads up right away.
We are approaching the season of that budget season running out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, why don't we cover the meeting minutes that Kathy had for us. Let me get them here. Okay, so we have two sets of minutes to approve. One is from October 6, 2021. In attendance at that meeting was myself, Eric Chu, Eric McGlynn, and Gail Rodricks.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Okay, those minutes are approved. The next set of minutes is from December 8, 2021. In attendance was myself, Peter Benoit, Eric Chu, Eric McGlynn, Sue Delgado, Robert Ferrera, and Gail Rodricks.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, these minutes are approved. All right, next on the agenda is next week's meeting, February 2nd. Melissa, do you have down who we're meeting with next week? Because I know things have changed a little bit since we set this up.
I don't have it saved on my desktop. But I believe it's, off the top of my head, it's definitely building.
Building golf.
And I believe it, golf, assesses, right?
Parks Department.
So
Yes, assesses, and I think you could have added one more due to them not being able.
Was it Parks?
Yeah, that's what I have.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes, it was Parks and Rec, yep, you're right.
all right, so building, golf, assessors, and park.
Parks and Rec,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
And I do have to email you a new golf budget, just so you'll be expecting that tomorrow. Should be expecting that tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody's been doing good, getting the emails. Okay.
Yep, works well.
Any discussion with regards to tonight's meeting, or? I think it was pretty straightforward. I think the library did a good job, and
She always does.
Yeah.
it was good for us to be reminded about the, meeting the appropriation requirement. Obviously, that's important.
I didn't realize how much is involved in libraries.
Oh, it's,
Yeah.
I was at the,
Maintain
I was,
certification,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I actually participated in the last meeting as liaison, and the board's definitely involved, the community's involved, you hear all the positive feedback from patrons and stuff, so they're doing a really good job over there.
Okay. Anybody have any old business to discuss tonight?
I don't know if the Jackie Stanley thing, have we heard anything about that?
I have not. But you had seen something?
Yeah, on the website, it's got her term to 2024. She voted, she must have been approved by the selectmen.
I haven't seen anything. So-
Yeah, because you'd have to.
It's on the
That means she would have
website.
been
Get sworn
reappointed in
in.
21.
Yeah, she needs to be
Yeah.
re-sworn in, so.
So, I
But
guess.
then again, I'm not on the website, neither is
Yeah.
Peter, so. I don't know.
And you don't have your handy dandy little plaque
And I'm,
either.
yeah,
They're
I'm
working
not
on that.
special,
They're
I don't
working
have
on
my
that.
own handy dandy plaque yet, but that's okay. We'll work
We
on
need to
it.
get on that.
We need to work on it.
Actually, I got a question for Kathy. Kathy, did you hear from Pete Benoit at all with regards to him coming tonight?
I thought maybe at the last meeting, he said he couldn't make this one.
Oh, is that, maybe
I
he
think
did?
you're right.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
out.
Yes,
I think
yes.
so.
Oh, that's
He's out.
right.
He's
out.
traveling this week.
Okay,
That's right.
all right, so I'm sure we'll see him next week. And then, so Kathy, do we have like an updated version of our budget schedule? Like with all the departments we're gonna be meeting with?
I have the next 2 weeks are confirmed,
Okay,
so I'm just working on that third one, and I was gonna try to get like February out to you.
okay. I know the next couple, I mean, next week's not gonna be too, shouldn't be too difficult. And I think the week after that, that's when it starts getting probably a little more detailed.
Yeah,
All right, but we're good for the next 2 weeks though, all lined up? Okay.
I can just get that together and send it out tomorrow,
Yeah, so if we can get, if all
those
the,
2 weeks.
if all the members can get an updated version, you know, with the dates who we're meeting with, that'd be terrific. All right, I think that's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn our meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, this meeting is adjourned.
Good night.